Welcome everyone. We are here today with UCSD's first Centering Pregnancy group. They joined in June 2021 and their first one who go completely through our program, and their babies just recently turned 1 year old. So they're here today. We're going to talk all about centering pregnancy. Basically, it's prenatal care taken from the exam room and into a group setting. So we're going to talk with them about how it was and tell us more about their centering experience. So Kelly, how did you first learn about centering pregnancy model of care?
So I had made an appointment at UCSD. Initially, I didn't know if I wanted to go the OB route or the midwifery route, and the receptionist I talked to said go with midwifery first because it's easier to switch to OB than vice versa. So I met with Annie, the midwife there, and I came in with my scroll of questions, and she said, you might benefit from some group talk. And would you like to sign up for this program? And my husband and I were both there, and we're like, yeah, that sounds fantastic.
Great. Did you hear about it before? Or?
Yeah, so I also heard about it through my first visit with the midwife, and it was really just a brochure. It was after the visit, and they gave me a brochure. They didn't tell me too much about it, but I was super interested. So I contacted them right away and I was like, sign me up. I want this. I wanted the support. So yeah.
I was one of those creepers that looked it up online first. I literally was looking through the midwifery. I knew I wanted to do that. And then I was like, oh, there's a group? If there's anything that I want and need, it's a community. So I was like, oh, hell yeah, let's do this. And I think another thing that I really liked is being with the same midwife throughout, because otherwise it's kind of whoever's available for your appointments, and having the same person throughout was really appealing to me too.
What about you, Jo?
I saw an OB at first, and I had a traumatic experience where she dismissed all my questions that I had and was very quick with me, and it was my first child, and I felt very unseen. And when I went to the counter to book my next appointment, I asked if there was another OB I could see, and she suggested a midwife. And then I saw Anne, and Anne suggested the program, and it was the best thing that I could have done.
What led you to decide to participate in a centering prenatal group, just with the community of it? And can you talk about what the centering room looked like, or kind of what you experienced when you first showed up for your first session?
Yeah. So I thought it was nice first that they gave us a calendar and the dates set up of when we would be meeting, because I could submit it to my work easily and just say, these are the days I can't go. So it was nice that it was a set time. And it also gave us some of the topics we would go over. So I really liked that it was a structured program, because I'm all about that. And
and it's nice that you guys don't have to wait for someone's running late. It's starts at the same time.
It was, I really liked the structure of it, but then also the room was a nice closed environment, and it was just, we were in a circle and we were able to see each other, and it just felt like a very safe environment to talk about whatever the topic was for that day.
And I liked that it was both kind of the group, so all of us would learn about things, we would ask questions and stuff and hear each other's answers, but we also got the one-on-one attention as well. And I really liked that because, if there were things that were more sensitive or you weren't sure, especially at the beginning, I think we were can I ask and then it'd be literally everything up on the board. And I just think that it was really nice to have that balance to allow us to kind of get used to asking in the group.
Well, I think a lot of us had the same questions.
Which was you're not the only one having cramping or tenderness anymore.
So nice.
And we all have had friends that have had kids previously, and we talk about this now, you forget what it was like in the early weeks, and you forget how to relate to new mothers. And so it was really nice to have a collective group that was all in a very similar phase, and your questions aren't weird and everyone's going through the same thing. So it was nice to have that camaraderie with the group.
And we still have that. We're on a group chat with the other mom, and we talk every day. Every day. So it's been a year, and we all
mom group.
It's great.
Yeah. And the centering pregnancy was your prenatal visits. It was your care. It was your childbirth education class. It was your support network. And can you talk about who like showed up for like, so you had a midwife provider, we had Yvette, the medical assistant, and then we had a couple of people come and visit us.
Oh yeah, the doula had come. That was really helpful. And it was nice because I think she was the head of the doula program. So she gave us her contact if we needed anything. And when I had the volunteer doula, like she was a lifesaver.
I love the doulas.
Oh my gosh. I didn't have a doula from outside, but when I was so glad they called the doula for me. And she was running a little late, but it didn't matter because when she came, she was like right there.
I love them.
Those are things we learned through the program. Like we have access to these people on the spot. Our lactation consultants, that somebody came and spoke to us from there and gave us information and pamphlets, things that like maybe you don't realize you need until you have a baby, and then you're like, wow, I remember learning this. I have this information.
Well, even like the pediatrician appointments and like the schedule, I was like, oh my God, we have to take him so much. But again, like I think that would have been super like overwhelming if that had just come right postpartum versus like kind of, this is what you need to do. This is roughly like, I just felt very prepared, right? And if there was anything that I wanted to learn more about, like when the doula came in, I was like, I feel like I need more information about that. I like got, you know, a little like, it was like a 2-hour course where we went over stuff and like.
Then you shared all that with everybody, which was awesome.
I was like, and we ended up using it. I mean,
I think one of my favorite times was when you guys were like, oh, I need like this abdominal binder. And then you guys like, this one? And you guys are all wearing the same abdominal binder. It's like, that's awesome.
Yes. I was like, I think we also sent each other all the Amazon links. We're like, this is what I have. Here it is. So it was.
Even yesterday. Asking about, what was it? The cottage cheese, which was
And then everybody had the same kind.
Same kind of cottage cheese?
Yes.
Life hacks. It's great.
I also love that we knew we were going to see you. You were going to do an ultrasound. You were going to take our blood pressure. We were going to take our weight. All the things that like we would get in a normal appointment plus
bonus
the meeting.
Exactly. Yeah. I think in other appointments, I would feel like if I only had our individual appointment, which was like 10, 15 minutes, I would have been like, this is it? I definitely would have had I would have been a lot less prepared.
Well, I think, and you just mentioned it earlier, that like you knew where the baby's heart rate was. Cause like on labor and delivery, you're like, the baby's right here. Cause
we know.
Because like really, and having the same person to be like, oh yeah, I remember that he was in this. He was right here the whole time. We need to get the heartbeat down here. And then I could tell my nurses that I hadn't met before, oh yeah, this is what you have to do. So like, I don't think I would have had that if I was seeing somebody different, so.
It instilled a lot of confidence in us going into labor and allowed us to be.
I love your birth story.
Yes, had a very quick, lightning fast labor. But it really allowed us to be advocates for ourselves because we knew so much information going in, whether it was the doula program or where your baby was or just being familiar with the people around you. I felt very empowered going into my birth.
Totally.
Well, even with like what happens in like the golden hour and what you're allowed to do, what UCSD's like procedures like generally are, that I think, again, I never would have thought to advocate for those things, even though like all the books said it, like it's something to be like, we already do all of these. So you also go in knowing like my needs will be met by this.
Yeah, not just like we're meeting as a support group, but like this is through the hospital and I know what the hospital's policies are and it's a baby-friendly hospital, so if we want to do certain things like circumcisions are going to come out. All the facts that like you feel prepared for in your experience.
Good. These are awesome. So yeah, can you talk about how, like, as you were saying, the very beginning of the group and how the group dynamic and relationships kind of changed and evolved over time with everybody, kind of got more comfortable and...
Oh, I was the creeper that was like, hey, I just am very good at being creepy.
You started the group chat.
Forcing everyone to be my friend. I was like, hey, like this is happening. Well, and it was really funny to see because I think because we were seeing each other regularly, we would catch up a lot, like in sessions, which was great. But then it was when people started having their babies and we were like, holy they just gave me a baby and I am allowed to leave. That's when the group chat really
the first birth.
Yeah.
we would be like,
Joe, you were the first birth.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh yeah.
I remember when that happened, I was like,
I think we were
so
just
excited.
I'm telling you what happened. I just want you all to have good luck.
Exactly.
But yeah, because then it was real, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's when I think it really hit off.
Yeah.
We were just
You
like,
guys-
what?
yeah. You talked about how postpartum it was a real lifesaver.
Oh my
Because
God.
you kind of
yeah.
fell in love
It was,
after your prenatal visits were over.
It's
Yes.
a relationship saver with your spouse and partner too, because everybody's so feeling the same thing, and there's the big hormonal waves that you
God.
go
Oh my
through,
gosh.
and it's nice to know you're not in
We
that
were,
boat alone.
You're not an
we were all
insane
going through
person.
a lot of
Yeah, you guys are
similar
in the
things,
trenches together.
and we didn't realize it till we talked to each other and we're like, oh my God, you're having the same issues, like, and we just shared like how we were all dealing with it, and it was really helpful.
I think Kelly said it at one point in our chats, like sometimes it's our group of friends is a little bit, it's easier for us to communicate with each other about unlimited things versus talking to like friends we've had for 15 years, because we have a different relationship and it's based on, being moms and going through this whole new experience together.
And we talked about
A lot of
everything.
Yeah.
We have sent pictures of rashes, poop, like,
Yeah.
which again, like, I'm like, I would never do this with necessarily other friends, but we're all in it. So like, and I think also another thing that I didn't anticipate, but I really liked is that all of our kids have been on different kind of like developmental trajectories. Like some have like walked earlier than others, some are talking and some aren't. And like having that variability is actually really nice. Cause then I'm like, okay, like I've seen this at least like 5 times now, that even if he's not there yet, he will be, and it'll be fine. Like I can relax because I know that it's going to happen.
Have like a built-in mommy group and together and going to the zoo and all the stuff. And
I mean, I call you my mom friends when I refer to you to people. I'm like, you are my friend.
No, it's very funny. I'm like the prenatal girls, and they're like,
just call them your friends.
Mom friends.
So, Joe, what did you find most helpful or beneficial about the model? Like, was it the group discussions, with the advice from everybody? What did you find the most helpful, like collectively, of centering, would you say?
So I feel like I did a lot of things on my own prior to like be really prepared. So when I came to the class, I was like, oh, well, I kind of knew that and I kind of knew that. But then it was nice to share information and maybe learn things that other people were doing that maybe I could have done differently, or it was just good to be aware of. It was great to have the emotional support, but I really liked that I knew every time I was going to be seen, and once the baby was big enough, I was going to know that the heartbeat was going to be checked. I think having the medical attention in a friendly way was really nice. Yeah. And then we came back and we would continue our chat, and then it felt very like accomplished versus just like going to the doctor. Like when you go and to the OBGYN, you get a pap and then you leave, you feel very like kind of abrupt and like nobody cares about me, you know? Yeah. So it was really good medical attention and support.
So centering is just taking your prenatal visits out of the exam room and putting them in a group environment.
And it's very casual too.
Yeah.
Well,
casual and comfortable.
I was like, it's so scary being a first-time mom. Like that was definitely like my penchant, was just to be like, oh my God, like what is this? But I think that being able to approach it in a more casual, like group setting helped normalize a lot of things. And also everybody else would be like, oh my God, I didn't know this like happens to pregnant people. I was like, neither did I. So like
it's all normal.
Exactly. But I think when you're on your own and siloed away from other people that are going through it, it's very easy to just like go down the rabbit hole of like something's terrible.
Google,
or even just navigating the healthcare system. It's like so insane to try to like, now that we've got kids, to like, you want to make a pediatrician appointment, you want to make an allergist appointment, you have to get a referral, you want to get blood work done, you have to get a referral. So navigating that now, but navigating that when you're pregnant and you've got all these hormones and all these other things going on, and you're trying to figure out like, oh, well, do I need to have a membrane sweep? What is a membrane sweep? We talked about a membrane sweep. You know, like we had access to like using the MyChart portal, but like in real life. Way
and I've
better.
been a little more anxious. I joked around about my scroll of questions, but I think for people that are anxious or first-time mothers, a lot of people have medical anxiety. It really took that barrier down for me because it was a comfortable setting. And like Joe said, you feel very seen, you feel very heard. You are able to be a little more vulnerable in the group setting, and you don't worry that your questions are silly because you feel like
Everybody has them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone's going through the same thing.
And you kept us on track to like, all right, everybody, in 2 weeks, you've got to get your it's glucose test time.
Yeah.
And so like,
Wait,
you knew
what?
what you needed to do. And
Yes.
like, that was like, for all of us organized moms, it was really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so the prenatal visits were kind of like, you know, on like every month, and then as you get closer to, they got every 2 weeks, you got really bonded.
Yeah.
But truly, it was the like, well, I just get to benefit from the fact that y'all are organized moms because like I know myself, and I know I would have been like, oh crap, I was supposed to get this glucose test like 3 weeks ago, or these labs. Like, if it's just on me, that's so hard. But like, what would happen is in the group chat, somebody would be like, oh, I just did this. It really wasn't that bad. This is the better taste for the glucose test. Like all of those, like, it sucks, but you'll be fine. Like, I think that was really helpful to also just like kind of keep that as a reminder.
Perfect. Okay, so what were any challenges or difficulties that you had during centering pregnancy participation, would you say, if any?
I think having it scheduled was very nice because you knew what time, you knew what day. We're all working moms too, so it was easy to modify my work schedule for that. I could see that being a little bit of a challenge. Otherwise, you know, like, oh, this work meeting came up, I need to bump my appointment, and then I wasn't staying on task and staying on top of some of those things. So I didn't really have any issues, but I could see issues outside of the model.
For other,
Yeah.
Anybody else have any?
The location was a little tough for me when I
right.
moved.
You guys were.
It was,
kind of
and it was like right during rush hour. I mean, I'm like looking for something, right? Like it was so great. Like, but like if I had to say, like like at 4:30 driving home and for an hour in traffic was like kind of annoying.
It's a drag.
But you know, in the scheme of things, it was worth it.
Perfect. And then how did the whole like centering pregnancy group expectation like compare with your expectations, would you say?
Exceeded beyond.
Yes.
I think we can all
Hands
agree
down.
that I think, well, for me, I mean, I didn't expect too much. I just knew that it was just the prenatal appointment and then the group discussion in one. I didn't expect such like the relationships we built. Like, I didn't know we would become such good friends. And it's been amazing. Like, I'm so grateful for all of you.
And for you, Vanessa, like
Yes.
I know at my birth, I had a tough birth, and you were with me the entire, like you didn't even need to be, and you were with me even through
I came.
surgery. Yeah,
And
and,
then
it
they-
was
and
just
all the
like
midwives,
so
yeah.
amazing. But like knowing that you were a familiar face who really knew me, it was really beautiful.
Back to it. We're almost done, I think. How do you think, for you, Larissa, how do you think your participation in the centering group impacted your childbirth or experience? Like,
I made a very shocked face, but I'm like, it was crazy how okay I was with the whole process. Like, even things like, oh, there's no way my water will break up. You're the 10% that it does. Didn't know it felt like I was peeing my pants the whole time. But I was prepared, and like we had even talked about, it's like, you know, like take a shower, eat a meal, like you can chill out. It's not as long as everything, and like call the midwives. This is what you tell them so that they feel comfortable with you coming in a little later too. Like,
Yeah, you prepared us.
I would have never known any of those things, and even like, I don't know, it just was so much. I mean, it was already super daunting, but it wasn't as much of a black box as it was before we went through it, right? We had as much information as we could.
I also had the benefit of giving birth last.
It's true.
You were all very gracious in sharing all of the details of your birth story. And so it was really helpful to say, okay, well, it's not going to be as scary as I thought it was going to be. I can get through it. And it was nice to have that. Yeah. And then I had like the quick birth afterwards.
So do we get to do this like when we have our second babies?
Yeah, I mean, right? Yeah, if you want to do centering.
Is that an option?
For sure. Oh,
Cool.
yeah, we have lots of people. You don't have to be a first-time mom. Second time, third time. I had a patient. It was our
I'll
third.
need some refreshers.
Oh my gosh.
We pretty much forgot everything. We're ready for our next one.
I was like, we have kind of talked about a little bit of a pregnancy pact. Is all I'm saying. That it would be nice to just go through it again. But even with that, like, well, and again, I have friends who have kids that are way older than mine that are like, 6, 7, and I can't ask her, like, my kid is 3 weeks old. Is this fine? Like, it's, you get very far away from it. And we were talking about this before we got here, that we've already forgotten what it's like to have a 1-month-old or a 2-month-old. So having everybody at roughly the same, like, period is just huge.
Okay, they're all going through it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, so Joe, based on your experience, do you have any advice, tips for expectant moms who are considering participating in centering pregnancy?
Oh, do it. We can all agree this was the best decision we made in preparing. I took a hypnobirthing class, I got a doula, I did all these things on my own, and I learned way more in this class than I ever would have learned on my own. It was, and it's free.
Yeah,
like it's part of your insurance.
Yep.
So, the best thing. Plus, the UCSD is like it's a teaching hospital, and everybody, there's access to such relevant information that's new and state of the art. It's not like, visiting a doctor that tells you to feed your baby rice cereal, So it's really, it's been a great experience. Yeah.
So you guys would also recommend any tips?
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
If you have access to it, why not? It's a free resource. It's great.
Yeah.
And like, I think that I could imagine that some people would be worried about, again, like, it's a very vulnerable period of time. It's a very vulnerable period of time. But very quickly, again, I think that, like, the bonds, because you're having all of these similar experiences and sharing your experience, what works for you, what doesn't, like, I think those relationships just form very naturally. And like, yeah, we were a little weird in the beginning.
Yeah, like, it's weird.
There were a lot of icebreaker exercises,
That's
though.
a funny name.
We did, so it wasn't all medical. There was some fun we had every time,
I figured out
too.
that we both were from the Northeast at some point in our lives. You
Toledo,
went,
Ohio. Yeah.
And
where
I'm from
I grew
Ohio.
up.
And
And
then we
we were
all
in
had
Ohio.
ties to each other somehow.
It was like very cool to see that. And I think we're all similar but very different. So I think that, like, we all bring our strengths into supporting each other with this insanity. So, like, I think it just really helps demystify. I guess that's what I would say. Like,
plus, like, Lizette is so wonderful, and she made that experience really nice. And you're just like so welcoming and lovely.
Like, that's midwives. I mean,
yeah.
I love us.
but again, having the same person too, like,
Knowing you.
I don't know. I think that it would have been a much more isolating experience if I had to go to somebody different each time, like, rather than knowing, I know where I'm going, I know who I'm seeing, like that. I needed that security as everything else was changing. So
That's a good way to put it.
Like, thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
having us.
we're
starting this.
I was lunch.
We're excited to hang out with each other. Like, that's how much this means to us. Is we're like, yes, we will absolutely do this. We want to tell everybody, and we also want to hang out. So
And we don't have our kids.
All at daycare.
all at daycare.
Perfect. Yeah.
Thank you for doing
Thank
this.
you.
Yeah, thank you so
Thank you guys
much.
for being our first maiden voyage of centering at UCSD.
Very.
Yeah.
Couldn't be luckier.
Yeah.
Us too. You guys are a great group.